Have you ever eaten a salad thinking you're doing something good for your joint sac, and yet a few hours later your knees still one night of poor sleep, or your hands feel stiff and inflamed? Here's something few people realize. Not all vegetables are created equal when it comes to joint health and sustained energy. In fact, some of the most commonly consumed healthy veggies can silently fuel inflammation, especially in people over 40. And if you're struggling with joint pain, morning stiffness, or even low energy throughout the day, your vegetables might be part of the problem. Now, that sounds counterintuitive. After all, we're told to heat the rainbow and load up on greens. But here's what the research shows. Certain vegetables contain plant defense compounds like oxalates and lectins that may irritate your gut lining, trigger low-grade inflammation, and reduce the absorption of key minerals like calcium and magnesium, nutrients that are critical for joint health and cellular energy. In a 2015 review published in Clinical Interventions in Aging, researchers found that joint inflammation in aging populations was not just a result of wear and tear, but often a response to systemic low-grade inflammation that can be amplified by what we eat. And there's another layer. In the microbiome, your gut bacteria interact directly with the plant compounds you ingest, producing either anti-inflammatory molecules that protect your joints or inflammatory metabolites that accelerate breakdown. What you eat doesn't just fuel your body, it fuels your microbes, which then shape your inflammation, your energy levels, even your mood. So in this Poor Sleep, in this episode, we're diving into the science of what to avoid and, more importantly, sleep, what to replace it with to protect your joints and energize your body naturally. Here's what we'll unpack together. The 3 vegetables most likely to harm your joints and why they do, how these foods interact with your gut and immune system to fuel inflammation. Poor sleep, 3-joint protective energy, boosting vegetables that work with your body, not against it. Poor sleep, a simple shift you can make in your cooking habits to deactivate harmful compounds. The surprising role of timing and food pairing in reducing inflammation, and a daily anti-inflammatory food ritual that supports joint repair and vitality. This isn't about fear, it's about precision. Poor sleep using neuroscience and nutritional biochemistry will cut through the confusion and give you tools that actually work for your body, your brain, poor sleep, and your long-term vitality. By the end, you'll know exactly what to avoid, what to add, and how to take control of your energy and joint health. One meal at a time. Let's get into it. Let's start with a surprising truth. Some of the vegetables we often consider clean or anti-inflammatory may actually contribute to joint pain, especially when consumed frequently and without proper preparation. It all comes down to something we rarely hear about in casual health conversations, the body's inflammatory signaling pathways. To understand this, let's zoom in on one key principle. Not all inflammation is bad. Inflammation is the body's natural defense mechanism. It's how your immune system repairs damage and fights invaders. But chronic, poor sleep, low-grade inflammation, the kind that simmers below the surface, is different. It's been linked not only to arthritis and joint degeneration, but also to fatigue, brain fog, and metabolic dysfunction. And the surprising thing, certain healthy vegetables may be keeping that chronic flame alive. Take nightshades, for example, a family of vegetables that includes tomatoes, bell peppers, eggplants, and white potatoes. Poor sleep. These are often praised for their vitamins and antioxidants, which they certainly do contain, but they also contain compounds like soline and tomatin glycoids that act as natural pesticides to protect the plant from predators. While these compounds may not harm everyone, research from the Journal of Inflammation Research 2010 suggests that in sensitive individuals, glycoloids can increase intestinal permeability, commonly known as leaky gut. When the intestinal barrier is compromised, fragments of undigested food and bacteria can slip into the bloodstream, triggering an immune response, the resulting elevated systemic inflammation that often shows up in the joints. Now, here's where things get even more interesting. Your joints have something called synovial membranes, soft tissue that produces to fluid, to cushion, and lubricate joint movement. This tissue is extremely sensitive to circulating cytoines, the chemical messengers of inflammation. In other words, sleep. The moment your immune system gets activated, even from a food reaction, your joints may feel it. Have you ever noticed that your knees feel stiff the day after a big pasta meal with tomato sauce and potatoes on the side? That's not in your head. That's your body's immune system responding to what it interprets as a threat. Another major culprit, spinach. Yes, spinach, while it's rich in iron and vitamin K, spinach is also loaded with oxalates, a type of antioxidant that binds to calcium and magnesium in the gut. This not only reduces the bioavailability of these crucial minerals, which are essential for bone and joint health, but oxalates themselves can form sharp, crystal awl-like structures in the body in people who are genetically predisposed or simply eating too many oxalate-rich foods without balance. This can lead to joint irritation and even contribute to kidney stone formation. A study in Frontiers in Nutrition 2022 highlighted that ethoxylate intake could increase systemic oxidative stress, one of the foundational drivers of joint tissue breakdown. So what's the solution? It's not about cutting these vegetables out completely, unless you're highly sensitive. It's about strategic avoidance and smart replacement. You'll see much better results when you replace inflammatory triggers with joint supportive alternatives, which we'll get to shortly. For now, here's a simple protocol to reduce inflammation from hidden plant irritants. Track your symptoms for 7 days. Eliminate common culprits like tomatoes, peppers, eggplant, potatoes, and spinach, and take note of any changes in joint stiffness or energy levels. Boil or pressure cook high oxalate vegetables. Heat breaks down many of the compounds that irritate the gut lining. Rotate your greens. Swap spinach for arugula, bok choy, or watercress, all lower in oxalates and rich in anti-inflammatory phytochemicals. Your body is highly adaptive, and your joints, while resilient, respond directly to what's happening in your gut and bloodstream. The more you can reduce silent inflammation at the source, the more fluid your movement, sharper your focus, and deeper your sleep will become. Sleep. Let's move to what's happening in your body when you eat these compounds and how your microbiome may be the missing piece. Now let's go a layer deeper into the intersection of plant chemistry, gut biology, and joint pain. Poor sleep, what's happening in your brain and body when you consume these seemingly innocent vegetables like spinach or eggplant. The answer lies in two compounds that plants evolve to protect themselves, oxalates and lectins. Let's start with oxalates. These molecules are essentially anti-nutrients, meaning they interfere with your body's ability to absorb beneficial nutrients. Oxalates bind to calcium, forming tiny crystals that the body must then work to eliminate in the kidneys. They can form stones in the gut. They reduce calcium absorption and in joints, particularly in people with impaired oxalate metabolism. One night of sleep, they may contribute to stiffness and inflammation. Here's what the research shows. A 2021 study in Nutrients reported that individuals with higher oxalate diets had increased biomarkers of oxidative stress and inflammation, especially those over the age of 50. The study noted that high oxalate intake correlates with lower levels of magnesium and potassium too, minerals that support electrolyte balance and reduce muscle cramping and joint pain, where night of sleep, and here's where your gut microbiome enters the story. There's a special type of bacteria called Oxalobacter formigens that naturally helps break down oxalates in the digestive system. But here's the catch. These bacteria are often wiped out by antibiotics, stress, and poor diet. So if your microbiome is compromised, which is true for many people over 40, even a normal intake of oxalates may overload your system, silently eroding your joint and kidney health. Now let's talk about lectins, another natural plant defense compound of poor sleep. Lectins are found in nightshades, lithiums, and some grains, and they act like microscopic glue. Their role in nature is to disrupt digestion in pests, but when humans consume them in excess or in improperly prepared foods, poor sleep Lectins can bind to the gut lining and increase intestinal permeability. In other words, they poke tiny holes in your gut wall, allowing inflammatory compounds to enter your bloodstream. What's happening in your brain when this occurs is particularly fascinating. Your immune system signals the hypothalamus, the inflammation sensing region of your brain, to initiate a systemic response. This can affect your energy regulation, increase brain fog, and remember, your joints are highly vascularized. That means a circulating inflammatory markers like cytokines triggered by poor gut integrity reach your synovial joints quickly. This often results in stiffness pain upon waking or that heavy sluggish sensation in your limbs during the day. But here's a simple tool to apply pressure. Pressure cooking destroys most lectins and significantly reduces oxalate content. For example, cooking beans in a pressure cooker can eliminate up to 90% of their lectin content, according to a study published in Plant Foods for Human Nutrition 2019. Likewise, boiling spinach and discarding the water can remove more than half of its oxalates. Another practical protocol: support your microbiome. You can increase levels of oxalate-degrading bacteria by consuming prebiotic fibers from foods like garlic, lakes, and Jerusalem artises, or taking targeted probiotics designed to restore gut diversity. Before we move on, here's something to consider. Have you noticed that your energy crashes after a healthy veggie packed lunch? You're not imagining it. If those veggies include raw spinach, tomatoes, or unsoaked legumes, the compounds they contain could be creating gut stress, which your body must work over time to process, leaving less energy for focus, performance, and even joint repair. If this insight is helping you consider subscribing, we explore these cutting-edge, science-backed strategies every week to help you optimize your energy, mood, and movement, poor sleep. In the next section, we'll reveal the 3 vegetables you should avoid and the powerful anti-inflammatory mitochondria supporting options to eat instead. This is where it gets practical. Let's now get practical, and the specific cure here are 3 vegetables that could be silently sabotaging your joints and energy poor sleep, especially if you eat them often or don't prepare them the right way, along with 3 powerful alternatives that actively support joint repair, reduce inflammation, and boost cellular energy production. A1, tomatoes. Tomatoes are part of the nightshade family and contain timatine, a glycol colloid that in sensitive individuals can irritate the gut lining and stimulate an immune response. That immune response may trigger inflammation in joints, especially in people with autoimmune tendencies like rheumatoid arthritis or osteoarthritis. A 2013 study in the Journal of Clinical Rheumatology observed that many people with pain experience symptom relief after removing nightshades from their diets. For just 3 weeks, tomatoes were a common offender. What to eat instead: roasted bell peppers, peeled or cooked, carrots. These alternatives provide carotene and vitamin C, both essential for collagen synthesis and inflammation control, without the joint reactive alkaloids A2 spin. Spinac is loaded with oxalates, which bind to calcium and may lead to the formation of crystals in the body over time. This can contribute to stiffness, kidney stone formation, and lower bioavailability of key minerals like magnesium, essential for joint cushioning and energy metabolism. Even worse when consumed raw or in large quantities, spinach may disrupt calcium absorption in people with already low bone density. What to eat instead: bok choy or kale. Steamed bok choy is naturally low in oxalates and provides a rich supply of vitamins A and K, both of which play a role in bone integrity and joint lubrication. Steamed kale has a better calcium absorption file than profile spinac, and also delivers powerful antioxidants like quercetin A3. Poor sleep, white potatoes, especially with the skin, or another nightshade that can trigger immune activation. The culprit is choline, which may cause inflammation and permeability in the gut lining. For some people, this translates to pain in the knees, fingers, or hips after meals. Also, potatoes have a high glycemic index, which can spike blood sugar, and elevated insulin levels promote inflammation, oxidative stress, and over time, cartilage degradation. What to eat instead: sweet potatoes at steamed or roasted. Unlike white potatoes, sweet potatoes contain beta carotene, a powerful antioxidant, and have a lower glycemic impact. They also support the growth of beneficial gut bacteria, particularly buff bacteria, which is linked to reduced joint inflammation. In studies published in Frontiers in Immunology 2020. Now, how do these swaps make you feel? Notice the subtle shift when you remove inflammatory inputs, even plays a role in blood sugar regulation. When you pair high-carb vegetables like sweet potatoes with healthy fats and protein, you flatten the blood sugar curve, which reduces insulin spikes and inflammation downstream. So here's a simple anti-inflammatory plate. Formula: whole plate, steamed or roasted, low oxalate vegetables, CG kale, bok choy, bell peppers. I plated clean protein, TG, eggs, wild salmon, lentils if tolerated, heat plating, healthy fat, TG, olive oil, avocado, pumpkin seeds. What about timing? Here's something you may not expect. Poor sleep, consuming certain vegetables at the wrong time of day, can reduce energy and impair digestion, especially in the evening. Your gut motility and enzyme production slow down after sunset. Eating hard to digest veggies like raw kale beans or cruciferous vegetables at night can result in bloating, indigestion, and disrupted sleep, which in turn raises cortisol levels and reduces joint repair during deep cycles instead. Front load your anti-inflammatory vegetables during lunch. Poor sleep when your digestion and insulin sensitivity are at their peak. Save lighter, gentler vegetables for dinner like cooked zucchini, carrots, or squash. Let me ask, have you ever felt unusually stiff or tired the morning after a late dinner filled with heavy greens or raw vegetables? That's not poor sleep, not coincidence. It's a sign your digestion was overwhelmed and your body couldn't fully restore and repair overnight. Poor sleep by aligning your vegetable intake with your circadian rhythm and pairing them with the right nutrients, you give your joints a powerful window to heal without relying on supplements or medication. If this kind of detailed, science-backed information is helping you, make sure to subscribe. We break down the latest research and translate it into real-world tools every week because your health deserves precision, not guesswork. Next up, we'll uncover how your gut bacteria are directly communicating with your joints and how changing your veggie intake can reprogram that conversation for less pain, more energy, and faster recovery. Let's now unlock one of the most exciting frontiers in joint health. Your